Welcome to The Explainer. So, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16, Jesus asks a couple of questions that really cut to the core of what we value and what we're all chasing after. Today, we're going to unpack those questions and figure out what it truly means to profit in life.
Before we jump into the verses themselves, let's start with the question this whole passage forces us to think about. What is the real price of success? Jesus is basically challenging our entire idea of what's valuable, pushing us to weigh our ambitions on a completely different scale, an eternal one.
And here they are, the two verses at the heart of our explainer today, Matthew 16, verses 26 and 27. Let's really dig into that first incredible question. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Now, to get the full impact of this, you have to understand the conversation that's happening right before this moment.
See, this huge question doesn't just come out of nowhere. Jesus asks it right after he lays out the incredibly demanding all-or-nothing conditions for anyone who wants to follow him. He's basically setting the stage for the ultimate choice, and believe me, he does not sugarcoat the cost.
It all starts back in verse 24, with this command for his followers to deny himself. Now, get this. The source material points out something incredible here. The Greek word for deny is the exact same one that's used later to describe Peter denying Jesus. It creates this really stark, personal choice. You're either going to deny yourself or you're going to end up denying him.
And that just perfectly sets up the next command, take up his cross. Now, for the people listening to him back then, this wasn't some nice metaphor for having a tough day. The cross was a brutal, public instrument of Roman execution. So this was a call to live every single day in a spirit of total sacrifice, the same way Jesus himself would on his walk to Calvary.
Okay, so with that heavy context of total self-surrender now hanging in the air, Jesus hits them with the rhetorical question that just slices through every possible worldly ambition. He frames this choice using the language of business, of accounting, profit and loss. It's like he's presenting a cosmic balance sheet where the stakes are, well, your very soul. First, he puts forth the ultimate prize of worldly ambition. I mean, just imagine it, gaining everything you could possibly want. All the power, all the wealth, all the influence, the whole world, right there in your hands.
And then he slams that idea up against the ultimate cost, losing your own soul. And we're not just talking about some vague spiritual idea here. We're talking about your essential self, the very core of who you are.
It's all laid out here like a divine balance sheet. In the profit column, you've got everything you could ever possess. And in the loss column, you have everything you are. The real power of the question is that it implies there's no exchange rate. There's literally nothing you can put in the profit column that could ever balance the catastrophic loss of your soul.
Now, Jesus doesn't just leave this hanging there like some philosophical riddle. Nope. In the very next verse, he gives the reason why this is such a terrible bargain, and he ties it directly to a future event that he says is absolutely certain.
So you see, this isn't just an abstract thought experiment. It's a prophecy. He's declaring that a final day of accounting is coming, and that future judgment is what gives the whole profit and loss calculation its ultimate inescapable weight. And when Jesus uses that title, Son of Man, he's making an absolutely massive claim. The source material shows this title comes straight from the book of Daniel, and it refers to a divine figure who's given the authority to judge the entire world. He's essentially identifying himself as that judge. And this wasn't a one-time thing. He repeated this exact claim at his own trial. When he was standing before the high priest, Caiaphas, he brought up this prophecy from Daniel again. And Caiaphas knew exactly what he was implying, that Jesus was claiming to be the divine judge of all humanity. And that's why he condemned him for blasphemy.
So this has naturally led to a huge question for scholars and theologians ever since. When Jesus talked about this coming, was he referring to something that was about to happen in the near future? Or was he talking about his final, glorious second coming at the very end of time?
Well, the sources lay out two main ways to look at it. The first view sees this prophecy as being fulfilled when Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD. That was a sort of coming in power, a divine judgment that proved Christ's authority. The other view sees it as the future, literal second coming, the final coming in glory.
But, these two ideas might not cancel each other out. A more balanced way to see it, which is outlined in our source, is that the judgment on Jerusalem was a powerful confirmation of Christ's authority, but his final return in the future, that will be the ultimate consummation of his glorious kingdom. One confirmed it, the other will complete it.
And all of this brings us right back to that original piercing question. The certainty of a final accounting, a day when every single person is rewarded according to his works, completely reframes all of our daily choices, doesn't it? It forces us to stop and ask, in the grand scheme of things, what are we really working for? And what, in the end, is truly profitable?